What's going on, guys, and welcome to part two of this series in terms of how to dominate the weight room. In part one, we really talked about what's the best workout split for you, whether you're doing like 3 or 4 or 5 workouts per week. So if you haven't seen that video, go back and check that one out. In this video today, we're going to talk about why strength training is actually more important than cardio in a fat loss phase, and I'll tell you why I'm really not a big believer in cardio when it comes to fat loss phase. Not to say you can't do it, and I'll explain after, but I'll give you my preferences to why weight training is more important. I'm gonna lead off with this. What if I told you exercise only makes up about 5 to 10% of how many calories we burn in a day? Would you still focus your efforts on burning calories, or would you try to find maybe a different approach? So to understand this concept, to kind of calculate our total daily energy expenditure, there's 4 main things you gotta know. Number one, what's going to make up the majority of this, about 65% of how many calories we burn in a day, is going to be our basal metabolic rate. And I'm sure you've heard that term before. If you're not sure what it is, it's basically what we do to keep the lights on. So if I were to lie down all day and not do nothing, no fidgeting, nothing, that would basically mean how many calories we burn doing absolutely nothing for a given day. And some factors that can influence that: age, muscle, are a couple big ones. Thyroid, that's gonna be like a bad thyroid issue. Maybe that can slow the BMR down a little bit. So maybe you've heard of like the thyroid issue, but that's the most important thing in terms of our total daily energy expenditure. The second thing that's most important as well is called our NEAT. So this is our non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Think of it as like involuntary movement. So even me talking to you right now, you kind of see I'm just kind of like moving and fidgeting a lot while I'm talking to camera. That's like involuntary movement. So it's basically like any fidgeting, any sort of thing you're not really thinking of. And that's actually gonna kind of burn up about roughly 15% of how many calories you burn in a given day, which is a pretty big number. The third thing is gonna be our thermic effect of food, so TEF, maybe you heard it before. In other words, it's basically how many calories or energy we need to digest our food. So protein has a higher thermic effect compared to carbs and fats. So basically, if you eat more protein relative to carbs and fats, you're actually gonna burn off more calories in a given day. And this number is about 10, maybe 50%, probably 10%, I'd say, for most people. And the last thing, and the least important thing, kind of back to my original point, is cardio, or I should say cardio, even exercise. It only makes up about 5 to 10% of how many calories we burn in a day. So my philosophy when it comes to fat loss and obviously getting strong is let nutrition take care of the fat loss for you. This is where obviously if you're trying to lose fat, you want to make sure you dial the nutrition. That's not rocket science. I'm sure you know that by now. But the second and the most important thing you want to do is you want to retain your muscle mass in that fat loss phase. So while you're dropping fat, your goal in a fat loss phase is to maintain your muscle. And this is why strength training is super important. And this is why I don't program a ton or if any cardio at all, because again, our goal, nutrition is to be more efficient to take care of the fat loss for us. And strength training is gonna give us a good athletic physique, but also, improve our BMRs, our basal metabolic rate. And we wanna make sure we're not losing muscle in that cut. Another reason why I don't love cardio as well is it impacts recovery. So when we're in a fat loss phase, our recovery goes down. So think of calories as a unit of energy, and the less energy you take in, the less you're gonna get out, and you're gonna feel kind of crap, right? Maybe you know what I'm talking about. You've done a diet for a few weeks or a few months, and you just have lower energy levels, and you don't feel as recovered. Maybe you're more sore, maybe you're not sleeping as well. So recovery tends to go down when calories tend to go down. When we program a ton of cardio in on top of weight training, that directly impacts our recovery, and that can kind of mess with our cortisol, so our stress hormone. And again, it just kind of throws off our metabolism and TDEE, which is our total daily energy expenditure as a whole, which is why I don't program, again, no cardio essentially at all. So my philosophy, I got 3 big things, and what we focus on is strength, of course. But number 1, let nutrition take care of the fat loss for you. Number 2, strength train and maintain your muscle to get that good athletic physique and making sure you're not lowering that BMR. And the third thing is walk a lot. So I'm not going to talk about steps today because this is like how to dominate the weight room series. But this is a long video basically to say why I don't love cardio, why I love strength training, because exercise only makes up 5 to 10% of how many calories we burn a day. That's not a big number. Focus on getting strong in the gym. Let nutrition take care of the fat loss for you. And that's going to be by far the most efficient thing you can do. Now in part 3, we're really gonna get into the exercises you can do. So part 1, we talked about the workout split. Now you know we need to strength train opposed to cardio. And again, it's not just you can't do cardio, you can definitely throw it in sometimes if you prefer at the end of the workout. There's nothing wrong with that, as it can help with your fat loss goals and obviously your heart health as well. So feel free to do that if you do enjoy it. But we're gonna talk about part 3, what exercises now to do since you have that workout split and you know to strength train. So stay tuned for that, should be a good one. We'll talk in the next video.